Dragon Ball Daima is the latest addition to the Dragon Ball story we all know and love. Daima fits neatly between the end of the Buu saga and the beginning of Dragon Ball Super. It's here to do the same thing GT did in the past. Keep the story going and serve as a modern day entry point to the world of Dragon Ball for fans of all ages. But unlike GT, where Akira Toriyama mostly just came up with the title and initial designs for the main cast, the late legend was heavily involved in Daima's creation. For this one, he came up with the story, settings, and many of the designs. When talking about GT, Toriyama called himself a lazy bum by nature. But for Daima, he let us know that he's put a lot more into it than usual. With the Dragon Ball franchise being over 40 years old, the groundwork was definitely laid out ages ago. Young or old, Goku will always be Goku. And the same goes for pretty much all the characters we know. So when it comes to new additions to the story, villains and antagonists are bound to be the main focus. Battle of Gods kicked off the Super Saga and introduced us to the god of destruction, Beerus, a character whose design was inspired by Toriyama's elderly pet cat that was considered to be some sort of demon by a vet since it was able to miraculously survive a deadly illness. In Dragon Ball Daima, we have several antagonists, and all of them are demons. After Dabura was killed by Buu, Goma assumed the throne to become the new king of the demon realm. His subjects see him as more of a menace than Dabura. Even Kadan, king of the third demon world, actively conspires to defeat him. With this little guy being the one to turn Goku and the others back into children, King Goma has pretty much been given the same role Emperor Pilaf had in GT. And he seems to be just as incompetent. The danger he poses is mostly superficial, but I guess that could change if he ever manages to get his hands on the evil third eye that he wants. Maybe he should talk to Tien. But based on what Pansy said about magic in the demon realm, he should at least have one spell to look out for. His attendant, Degesu, is one of the few Glins left in the demon realm, and Supreme Kai's younger brother. He doesn't seem to be much brighter than Goma. But there's plenty for us to learn about his family and their seemingly strained relationship. Their sister, Dr. Arensu, seems to be the most dangerous of the three. She is shrewd and ingenious. Thanks to Goma, she knows everything that happened during the Buu saga just like they do. Dr. Arensu emphasized Goma's title of king in a way that points to mock obedience. In just a few words, she managed to make Goma so paranoid that he decided to make trouble for people that didn't even know or care that he exists. Then she co-signed his stupid idea. They thought she left the room before then, but it turns out that she stuck around to hear what he'd come up with. She also left before Goma mentioned claiming the third eye. So perhaps she already knew that Shenron would only give the guy one wish. Whatever research she's involved in must be very significant if Dabura was willing to grant her unlimited funding. But while Dr. Arensu might be dangerous, there's one more character that may be even worse. Neva. Dragon Ball Daima seeks to elicit the charm of the original series in many ways. From things as obvious as Goku using his power pole again, to visual callbacks. There's nothing stopping that from extending to the antagonist too. And the final villain of the original Dragon Ball story was Demon King Piccolo. And I know, technically Goku ended things against his son, Piccolo Jr. But even as late as the tournament against Universe 6, Piccolo referred to himself as a reincarnation of the great Demon King Piccolo. It seems like Neva might be another Namekian Demon King for Goku to defeat. And if King Goma is the Emperor Pilaf of this story, we should remember that Pilaf is the one who released King Piccolo. Admittedly, Neva doesn't look all that dangerous at first glance. King Goma even says that the guy is senile, but that's probably just an act. After Goma made his foolish wish, he immediately told Neva to bring the Dragon Balls back. Neva replied that even he can't do it twice in a row. But once Goma shifted his attention, Neva turned away with a devious smile on his face. There's also the fact that old age is hardly an issue in the world of Dragon Ball. Quite the contrary, really old characters tend to be very wise and capable. The Namekians are said to have originated in the demon realm, yet Neva is the only one that stuck around. There must be a reason for that. We're told that the Namekians left because they don't like being ruled, which is a bit strange since they seem to follow Grand Elder Guru just fine. I believe this mention is kept vague on purpose. With the surrounding context of the episode, we're led to believe that the Namekians didn't want to be ruled by the Demon King, but I'm more inclined to believe that Neva was the real issue. At this stage, Frieza's army isn't that impressive, so it's easy to write off the Namekians they subjugated as weaklings. But that is far from the case. At the time, Nail was Namek's strongest warrior, and his power level back then was over 40,000. That's twice as strong as Saiyan Saga Vegeta and Nappa combined. Nail was a warrior-type Namekian, and in the manga version of the story, he was said to be the only warrior type on the planet. It was different in the Dragon Ball Z anime, but it's important to remember that Toriyama created from a manga standpoint. Even with Dragon Ball Super Hero, we see amendments to designs such as Piccolo's that more accurately favor the original source material. The Namekians were presumably at their peak in terms of strength and numbers while they were in the Demon Realm. Yet instead of fighting whoever sought to rule them, ultimately, they ran away. Not only that, but they separated even further by going to both Universe 6 and Universe 7, the universes that contain the Super Dragon Balls. As non-native inhabitants, they're not like the other species of the twin universes that were never truly connected. And even then, not all of them flock to the same planet. A few dozen used to live on planet Serial, and there are plenty that they just can't find anymore. They used to be one people. Yet even now, they still lack any discernible differences in culture despite being estranged for millennia. Their culture is very strong. Piccolo's dad referred to himself as a Demon King. But where did he get that idea from? Well, with Pansy's dad in mind, there seem to be multiple Demon Kings in the Demon Realm. It's just that Goma is the supreme Demon King, a prevailing figure over the three worlds of the Demon Realm. Not only is the Demon Realm the original home of the Namekians, the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls are said to have come before all the others found on various planets. Thanks to Dragon Ball Super, we know that the Super Dragon Balls predate them all. For Neva to be the creator of the first Dragon Balls possessed by mortals, he is more than likely the closest person to the ways of the dragon god, Zalama. We know that Shenron's power is proportional to the Namekian he's connected to on Earth, and this appears to be consistent across the various eternal dragons. Toronbo, the dragon of planet Serial, was created by Monaito, an especially weak and elderly Namekian whose passive power level is the same as a farmer with a shotgun. Because of this, Toronbo wasn't able to make Granola's power go beyond his latent potential without also including a steep caveat that gave him only 3 years left to live. When Shenron was connected to Kami, he could only fulfill a single wish. Meanwhile, Porunga, who's connected to Elder Guru, can grant 3 wishes. Neva is the blueprint that their fathers' could only ever hope to emulate. This man casually found and retrieved each of Earth's Dragon Balls in a matter of seconds. And despite them being in their stone states, he was able to make them usable in an instant. We've never seen anything like that before, and clearly Dende hadn't either. Based on that alone, we can expect Namekian magic from him like we've never seen before. Now, the reason King Goma turned everyone who fought Majin Buu into children is because he wouldn't have been able to wish for their deaths. Because Earth's Dragon Balls were created with white magic, Shenron cannot grant deadly wishes. Which is to say that the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls are probably the opposite. If they're made of black magic instead, they should be capable of fulfilling nefarious wishes. Piccolo is no longer a member of the Demon Clan like his father was. For a Namekian to be of the Demon Clan, they need to be pure evil. Namekians are able to sense the sinister intentions of others. Although Neva was with Goma, Dende refused to help them gather the Dragon Balls. Goma's new plan is to raise Dende in the Demon Realm and have him create a brand new set, which is pretty similar to how the Dark Dragon Balls came to be in Dragon Ball Heroes. A bunch of demons corrupted Dende and had him create them. Dende is the first fellow Namekian that Neva has seen in ages. Yet the older Namekian didn't even bat an eye when the boy was kidnapped. Compare that to Grand Elder Guru, who cared for his sons so deeply that he died of grief when they were all slaughtered. It turns out that Neva agreed to help Goma because the king promised him an extra 1,000 years of life. And mind you, that time does not come from nowhere. We see that the lifespans of Demon Realm citizens are harvested like taxes. Pansy claims that in the Demon Realm, the average lifespan is about 1,000 years. Meanwhile, we know the Namekians typically live for about 200 years. So either they were incredibly short-lived compared to other kinds of demons, or separation from their native realm has had an impact on their lifespan. Maybe Neva used the lives of his own people to extend his own. And now that they're all gone, he's dwindling. Grand Elder Guru is a bit over 500 years old. If any of you ever had the chance to play Dragon Ball Online back in the day, you might remember that 216 years after Z, Mori became the new Grand Elder. I know that's video game territory, but everything story or design related in that game needed to be directly approved by Toriyama himself, so it's worth considering. Suffice it to say, 1,000 years old is a virtually impossible age for just about any Namekian. Yet Neva mentioned how he hadn't seen another Namekian for several thousand years. So we can only imagine how old this guy must be. But why? Clearly, this is an active desire of his if he is willing to help King Goma for the sake of more years. King Piccolo had similar aspirations and wished for his youth to be restored. So what's stopping Neva from doing the same? Or just using the Dragon Balls he created to grant himself eternal life? We see that one of his three guardians regards him with enough respect to bow in his presence. So I doubt they'd stop him. It must be that he doesn't actually want to live forever. Maybe he just wants more time because he's waiting for something specific. Although he made them thousands of years ago, apparently the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls have never been used before. Perhaps he wants them to be used by someone else. More specifically, someone strong enough to defeat the Tamagami. According to Mori, Dragon Ball wishes were originally meant to be rewards for warriors in times of great suffering, but it's hard to say how far back that might be applicable. The Tamagami are so strong that using the Dragon Balls isn't even considered a possibility by Goma or any of the Demon Kings before him. Also, since when do Dragon Balls have guardians? Usually, scattering them makes the task of gathering hard enough. We mentioned the difference of power possessed by each, but there's also the aspect of size and quantity. Previously, the two aspects matched up fairly well, but since the Demon Realm only has 3, it's harder to say for sure, especially since we haven't seen them in action. But to be fair, Super Dragon Balls aside, they are the biggest. The number of Dragon Balls and their size might have more to do with retrieval. The Dragon Balls on Earth are numerous and small, so it'll take a keen eye and plenty of traveling to collect them all. The Dragon Balls on Namek are huge, so in most cases, you can only lug around 2 at a time. There are only 2 Dragon Balls on planet Cereal, and they are really small, so they're not too hard to gather, but they should be very easy to hide. The Super Dragon Balls are the size of planets, so they're pretty much impossible for mortals to get their hands on. The Demon Realm seems to have a Dragon Ball for each of its 3 worlds. But what are the Tamagami? The name means Spear God. They're very reminiscent of Ultraman or even Kamen Rider. And it also seems like Namekian homes were inspired by their designs. And of course, homes serve as a form of protection. Like the Tamagami, on Namek, each elder holds one of the 7 Dragon Balls. And on that note, why doesn't Neva have other Namekians protect them? Sure, they all left the Demon Realm, but that hardly matters when you're a Namekian. Their species reproduces asexually and have no issues when it comes to genetic diversity. Grand Elder Guru was the only survivor on Namek after catastrophic natural disasters struck, yet he was able to repopulate the planet by his lonesome. There's no reason Neva couldn't have done the same. In fact, I think he already did. Demon King Piccolo had the ability to produce mutated offspring that possessed specific features. He created his dark vassals to rampage on his behalf. Possessing the pinnacle of Namekian magic, Neva may have done the same. Thanks to Dragon Ball Heroes, we even see a Namekian grow a sort of chitinous bio-armor that resembles the Tamagami. The current Dragon Ball timeline has been taking concepts from older non-canon side stories and reworking them. Lud was a mutant machine from GT that was also referred to as the God of Destruction. Now we have multiple, and Lud seems to have been made into Moscow, Universe 3's God of Destruction. The original Broly was made into Kale of Universe 6, and later remade to be the Broly of Dragon Ball Super. Piccolo is already his father's son, so maybe in his prime, Neva will be more akin to Lord Slug, a pure evil outcast Namekian with powers unlike the rest of his kind. One that commands a demonic army, covets youth, and is ruthless to enemies and allies alike. There is a lot to be excited about when it comes to Dragon Ball Daima, so I hope you stick around for more. As always, I'm Sliceable Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.